This podcast would not be possible without my wonderful friends, my wonderful supporters from my Patreon page. For as little as $1 a month, you can support the podcast. What you get is the satisfaction of knowing you're helping me spread the joy and happiness of music to everyone. You also get early access to episodes without ads. I often post unedited episodes where you get to hear the mistakes and the discussions that I end up cutting out of the podcast. So I want to thank the following patrons for their love and support: Paul Appleton, Amy Brooks, David Kotsis, C.K. Westbrook, Sean Poole, David and Jennifer Von Ebers, Jeff Omer, Sylvan Groth, Liz Bronson, Yetta, Steve Hansack, John Munson, Betsy Hodges, Levi Petrie, Elizabeth Brunson, Stephen Malio, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, Dale Hozek, Terry Smith, Chris Bloom, and Mary Thomas. I just appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for the support. Now, on to the podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. We are getting off the Bruce train, though I'm sure he will come up, as he often does. And we are talking to one of my favorite kind of guests. Like most generic businessmen or women or business persons, I have a LinkedIn profile. It's boring. It's what you need. And you get people reaching out to want to connect. And every once in a while, someone says, "Oh, you do a podcast? What about?" And I tell them, and the really cool people go, "Oh, I want to be a guest." And that is Davis, fits in that category. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so very much. I'm happy to be here. I think I actually saw on your LinkedIn you do post occasionally about your podcast because that's where I had seen it, correct?
I did. About a year ago, I started saying, what the heck? If other people can post, you know, wild political thoughts and all this stuff. And it started out when I would have business leaders on the podcast, right? So I would do this. And after a while, I realized, no, there's some interesting. So, yes, I do. And it's always fun. And Davis has his Rolling Stone shirt on.
Yeah, I do.
Back there is tons of Stone posters. I think we may be talking about the boys in a bit, but I want to start out at the beginning. Tell me, where did you grow up, and what kind of music were you listening to as you grew up?
So this podcast that just so happened to be exactly where I grew up in Monroe, Louisiana.
Nice.
I'm here for the week for Easter, but I actually grew up right next to a fella in a wheelchair, and he had the coolest four-wheeler. So naturally, as an 8-year-old boy, I was immediately because in Monroe, Louisiana, four-wheelers mean everything. He had it souped up
Sure.
and everything. So we became quick friends, and he's my mother's age actually. So he was born in what? Sorry, mother, but 1986. So anyway, he has a very normal life. He actually just got in an accident as a high school kid and has been paralyzed, but he's married and he has no job though. So I would come down here all the time, and he is just a massive Stones fan and seen him 25 plus times. And I'm actually in his Stones room. So Thomas is the number one benefactor to all of my classic rock tastes. And frankly, not only is it my classic rock taste, but classic rock is most certainly my favorite genre of music now. For the last, I guess, 5 years of Spotify Wrapped, the top two artists have been Rolling Stones, Tom Petty, every time.
Every
And
time?
every time. And there's one time that Petty was three. And it actually took me a while. People ask you, who's your favorite artist? And you're like, oh, I like all these people, but I really like Petty. And for a while, I thought I liked Petty a little bit more just because, I don't know, he's not as mainstream. And I love his music as well. And Petty was the first concert I'd ever been to. So
Okay.
anyway, RIP. But according to Spotify, Stones is first every
Mhm.
year. Although I love TP, I
Yeah.
must say that the data proves that the Stones are certainly my favorite band. And
Were your parents not fans of music one way or another?
no, my mother, she bringing us to school and whatnot. She would play hits radio, and she was more funk. She was certainly
Okay.
more Earth, Wind, and Fire
Okay.
and Bee Gees and all of that. Being from Louisiana, lots of funk
Yeah.
culture. That was really her tune, which I adore. I love. I've brought her to Earth Wind and seen a lot of
Yeah.
funk music, but Casey and the Sunshine Band, wow. But the Stones and classic rock are certainly my favorite. But now I really do love and listen to a lot of all music types, and I would tend to tell people I don't love like screamo rock, but the other day I catch myself listening to Slipknot, and I'm like, wait,
Yeah, that's funny, right?
I guess death metal. I don't know that I follow death metal. That
Yeah.
might be more accurate, but so yeah. Anyway, that's my music taste, and that's where it comes from, and from a little boy listening to them.
I love that story that your neighbor gave you that thought, right? That you had that. Wha- One, it sounds like he was a very cool influence, but can you articulate what about the Stones spoke to you?
Certainly, like the rock and roll aspect,
Yeah,
guitar. That
sure.
that that clearly is a big piece.
Yeah,
Also, love the very lots of instruments in the Stones because they'll bring in Bobby Keys and for the trumpet and then or the horns, and then you have piano with actually the fellow that who is it? Oh gosh, what am I forgetting that right now? It's
see, this is why
oh
I
yeah,
say
Chuck
I'll clean this
Leavell.
up for you. I'll clean this up for
Chuck.
you. You'll look so smart after the fact, Davis. No,
Okay,
just
good.
joking.
Yeah, Chuck Leavell. Chuck
Okay.
Leavell's great. And Lisa Fisher brings in a bunch of soul into the band. And clearly, they have such a wide range from blues to rock and roll
Yeah,
to melody to country twang. They have
yeah,
more country twangy music than like I didn't even realize how twangy it was until I really got into old Texas twang, your old classic greats. Yeah, and their music, clearly, the songwriting, beautiful, right? They have some of the most famous songs in the world. I would say for all those things, and the Stones are pretty cool guys too. So,
yeah. I mean, they really are, right?
and
That this ultimate, I think when you think of rock and roll frontmen, Mick Jagger, Freddie Mercury, Bruce a little bit, you just stand out to that. And there is this charisma that they elude. Little Steven talked about that when they saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, they wanted to be them. And when they saw the Rolling Stones, they were them.
yeah,
Okay, we could never be the Beatles. They're too pretty, but we can be the Rolling Stones.
that's what I recently saw an interview where Tom Petty said the
Hmm.
same thing. Tom
Yeah,
Petty said the exact same thing. They were the first kind of Exactly. And the Stones have played with a ton of people, but they never played with. There's not. I think that even Mick and Petty, Keith
Yeah,
Richards is certainly with Tom, but I don't think like it's ever been pictured with him. So like they never played, which is odd, but
yeah.
uh, yeah.
Bruce told the story a few years ago. The Stones were going to be in New York, Jersey, somewhere. I can't, doesn't matter where, but they reached out to him and said, "Do you want to play with us? Do you want to play a song?" And he said, "Sure." And he says they went to a garage or basically a practice studio, and he spent all afternoon just jamming with them, working on the song. And he said it was cool. Let's say it's Madison Square Garden. This is all wrong, but
I would guess
this
it is.
story, yeah. He said it was cool going on stage at Madison Square Garden and playing with it. He said, but the true joy was sitting in there in that practice room, just playing with them over and over again. Because as a kid, that was your dream, right? That I'm going to be able to do this. And so I think that's very cool.
Yeah. How old did you say? Probably. When was this?
It was sometime in the since 2010, something like that time.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right. Right.
So just I love that story. Let's talk a little bit as Tom Petty number two. What about Tom Petty spoke to you?
So Tom Petty was, so we're missing, we need to make sure that the Stones aren't the only thing that he influenced, and generally was an influence.
Okay.
On this wall, you have a lot of Stones for sure,
Yeah,
but Eagles, I would say, are tops of mine.
yeah.
Here's a cool little, he actually got that, Thomas actually got that when he was in Vegas, or when the Stones were
Wow.
in Vegas, and he took that. But so there's some Petty stuff, some Clapton stuff. Paul McCartney, I would say, is also the top of mine. But anyway, it's not, I listen to a lot of music. So also on my Spotify Wraps, I usually have about 80 to 90,000 minutes having listened to. So,
Yeah,
I think most people probably are like maybe 20,000 around there. So, listen to a lot of music. But Petty was my very first concert. And Petty, he could, his, all his music is, I was actually talking about this. If you listen to it, every instrument, every melody, every word is perfect. As far as the timing of it and the placement of it, it's all very precise. So his music is beautiful. His songwriting is probably more, I would say Tom Petty's songwriting might be favored, in my opinion, over the Stones. He's clearly American, so it's more relevant, very Southern
yeah,
rock. He's from Florida. Also, he can rock. I mean,
yeah,
him and Mike Campbell, who's right here, actually got, this is a signed, I got that for Thomas. Mike Campbell now has started a new band,
yeah,
Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, and I saw them in a very small place in Austin, and probably a couple hundred people. And
yeah.
but so Mike Campbell, in other words, can shred a guitar.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I told you the story when we were talking, and you looked it up and you verified it. But as we were talking about before we did the podcast, you and I had a discussion a couple of weeks ago at work, and Tom Petty going, they're saying, hey, they're not booing you. They're saying
Yeah.
Bruce. And he says there a difference. It appears they had and it's surprising you've not seen Bruce it you would think if Petty had stayed alive that he and Bruce may have done something together because John Mellencamp and Bruce have done things, but there felt like there was this really mutual respect between Springsteen and Petty.
Yes, I would agree. You
Yeah.
know, they have played music together. There's that video. I think I ended up sharing it with you on LinkedIn where it's
Yes.
playing. Teddy actually came on stage, but that was with a number of other people. So yeah, they never did anything, I guess, together, which is
Like an
surprising.
album or something, or just like a song together. That would be fun. Yeah. So I always like to preface this, Davis, with the amount of times you've seen an artist perform live is not a fair barometer of how big of a fan you are. But for both, how many times did you see Petty perform live? You said it was your first show. And have
Hmm.
you seen the Stones perform?
Yes. So I've seen Petty 7 times,
Okay.
and that wasn't a short span. That was from what, like 2015 to he passed away, what, like 2020 before COVID,
Yeah, it
actually.
was before COVID. Yeah.
And then the Stones, I've seen 8 times. And then I actually have written down every musician I've ever seen in my life in one of my notes. So I have these numbers actually readily
Yeah.
available.
When did you start that? Why did you decide to do that?
Let's see. This note was started November 14th, 2013.
Wow.
I write a lot, actually. I journal, I write a bunch of philosophy. I actually caught myself writing a poem on the way on my drive here,
Yeah.
which is very rare. I write some philosophy, write down a bunch of quotes and stuff. I'm just one to do that. But
Yeah.
see, like I've seen Paul 5 times,
Hmm.
seen the Eagles 5 times. I've seen tons. Elton a few times.
So how about Bruce? Have you gotten to see Bruce yet?
I've seen Bruce twice.
Nice.
The first time I saw Bruce was actually the second time that I'd ever seen Tom Petty. I saw Bruce at Jazz Fest in 2012.
Oh, nice.
So that was good. And then I recently saw him again in Austin. I couldn't find anyone to go with me. And it was a last minute decision because I was like, I've got Bruce in my own city and I've got to go. And I got
Yeah.
on StubHub and got a ticket for $30 sitting by
Yeah.
myself. Went to Bruce Springsteen all by myself. And
Yeah.
it was great. It was great.
I was there. That was the night I think I got COVID. I had saw
Ah,
him Friday night in Dallas. Then on Tuesday night, he was in Houston. And then I went on Thursday to Austin because someone had an extra ticket and said, Jesse, just come. Yeah, just come. I don't want any money. Just come join me. And then I was supposed to go the next Tuesday to see him in Tulsa. I was going to do 4 shows. Man, I'm going to do 4 shows in 2 weeks. And so I was at the show Thursday. He did a great show. I was a little disappointed that that oh, now I'm looking stupid. George Strait came out,
oh,
introduced
yeah.
him, and I was really hoping that he would join the band for anything. But I guess George just wanted to enjoy the show. It was funny. I did have one of my friends from Canada said, "Yeah, was like was that the mayor of Austin or something?" And I like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
more like the unofficial mayor of Texas. But anyway, so it
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
really good
true.
show. I mean,
Unofficial.
yeah, it was a great show. But on Friday night, I don't feel very good. And Saturday morning, I woke up and sure enough, I took a
Oh,
COVID test and I was positive. So
wow.
yeah, and I'd gotten all the way through the pandemic, nothing. And this was like in 23, right?
Yeah, February 16th of
Yeah,
2020.
it was worth it though to see 3 shows in a week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that Bruce has that Bruce, I feel like, is a lot more popular in the Northeast from what I
Yes.
can tell. And he's up there, right? Where Bruce is from. Where's Bruce from?
Jersey. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so he has a huge following up there. But when I started meeting some folks, especially talking about going to that show, I realized how culty, not culty, Bruce has a huge crowd that and many fans who go,
Yeah.
do that exactly like people follow the Stones around and go to every show on the tour or everyone in North America. Bruce has that too.
Yeah.
Bruce is certainly a huge deal, and that's why I said I had to go, and it was a great
Yeah.
show, amazing show. Bruce can shred a guitar. It's truly amazing.
Yeah.
But all these Keith Richards, Little Stevie, Mike Campbell, all these guys, they all can shred, but they all shred in their own unique way. And so you go to a show and you're not necessarily like, oh, Bruce can shred better than Keith,
Yeah.
or
No.
it's just it's equally as good, all unique and different in their own way.
Yeah, it's crazy in a way that they have that joy of performing and the fun. Did you happen to go see Jason Isbell last weekend?
Was no, I was here in
You were in
Austin.
Monroe. I'm good. I was starting to feel guilty because, and I'll cut all this out. My wife got sick and couldn't go. So I drove down to Austin on Friday, saw him at the show, and then I had an extra ticket because she didn't go with me on Saturday. And I was sitting there going, damn it, I should have called Davis and said, come on, we can meet dinner and go to a
Uh,
show. So next time in Austin, for sure.
Dang,
Yeah.
that'd be really cool. I would
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that. That's a dream.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know it's hard to say, but do you have highlights from some of the shows you've seen live?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've actually, as I've gotten older, I've started to include more details about the various shows I go to, almost like a journal entry for each show. Let's see. But just off of recollection, are we going to go with the Stones? Let's see. Any particular highlights? I'm trying to think what that might be. Off the top of my head, clearly the first time that I ever saw Petty was Miraculous. And then
Yeah.
the second time at Jazz Fest was also Miraculous. That story might not be appropriate.
You're,
And shoot, I'm just
did you
trying
have any moments where you go, I can't believe I'm getting this song live?
to. I've seen, let's see, with the Stones, Petty was pretty similar. And I
Yeah.
saw him
Yeah.
7 times. I can't think off the top of my head, which particular songs, but the Stones, there's a few. Out of Control is kind of rare, but
Yeah.
both of those bands do a really good job of playing the music that people want to hear. And so after 7 times, I'll tell you this. One song that I have heard live by the Stones. Here's one right here. So on the Stones' newest album, the song is it's whole it's Get Close.
Okay.
Get Close, they have no live version of. Almost for every Stones song, they have a live cut of it somewhere along the
Yeah.
line. But with Get Close, they have no live version of it. And really, there's not even a there's no live version. There's none of the YouTube videos nearly do it justice. People
Okay.
filming the crowd. So anyway, that is a song that from the last time I saw them that I can't find. I can't get it again.
Yeah.
And I want that song. I want a live cut of that song to come out so bad.
That's nice.
It's hard to tell you because I've seen them so many times and they're all over since 2012. So
Yeah.
the last 15 years or so, it's hard for me to tell you that a particular song stuck out to me at a show, frankly.
Is there who that's currently touring? And this is a, excuse me, a variable, but is there someone, do you have a thought on people that are currently touring that you will hope you get to see?
AC/DC, is touring right now, and I think they're playing in your town. Where are you right now? You're
Dallas. Yeah, I'm in
yeah
Dallas.
yeah. They're playing at American Airlines
Okay.
as we speak.
Oh, wow.
That right now is probably at the top. There's some, but yeah, there's not a ton. Jazz Fest just released their artist lists,
Yeah.
and nothing too crazy standing out there. People I've already seen.
How often do you go to Jazz Fest?
In my early years, not early years, in college from 2012 to 2016,
Yeah.
I went every year.
Okay.
And then a few more here and there, but oh yeah, Jazz Fest is wonderful. If I lived closer, I almost went this past year to the Stone show there because they're playing and couldn't make it. But yeah, ACL go pretty much. Yeah, I go every year.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last year I missed. But as I've gotten older, festivals have lost their luster.
Yes, I understand that, Davis. I understand totally. Throwing it, is there just offhand a couple of people that you went into for Jazz Fest kind of, okay, I'll see them and they surprised you?
Gary Clark Jr. Clark Jr. really before he was anything on the front row from on the bar, but and it was all seating too.
Yeah,
No one, I was just set right on the front row. There was no line to get in. It wasn't crowded. It was just who is this random guy? We walk in, Gary Clark Jr.'s there, and then a few years later, you see him playing with the Stones.
that's
So
pretty cool.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
And then I'll tell you, someone that was on my list for so long that I never, I had a list. I created a list. Let's see.
yeah.
I've got many lists. I don't
I
know if I
I
could
love
find,
that.
let's see. I had everyone bucket list of bands,
Yeah.
and Foo Fighters was on there for the longest time, and I
Hmm.
never got to see them and never got too deep into them. I listened to
Yeah,
their great songs, but nothing crazy. Certainly didn't appreciate their music, but saw them 2 years ago at ACL, and holy cow, that was one of
yeah.
the best shows I've ever been to. Went in, and my buddy and I got split up, and I watched it by myself again, and wow, it blew me away. It was one of my favorite shows of all time, and they're amazing. They rock. I had no idea again that they rock like
Yeah.
that. I think it kind of goes back to that theme of what attracts me to music, and seemingly it's rock
Yeah.
and roll. Dave Grohl gets up there, and you're like, okay, this is like Nirvana, which makes sense, but Nirvana rocks hard, but you wouldn't think that about the Foo Fighters. But
Yeah.
he gets on stage and it is just as hard. It is rock and roll. It is not Foo
Yeah.
Fighters. I think of Foo Fighters on hits radio, not heavy rock and roll. So that was a more recent shock for me, I'll say.
Yeah. The what do you have any plans this year? Austin does get a lot of great shows. So I haven't even looked at who's going to be there at ACL, but who do you have plans to see this year?
I don't think ACL hasn't been released yet.
Okay. Yeah.
But it should be coming out soon. I
Yeah.
have tickets. I'm going to bring a customer actually to iHeart Music Festival, iHeart Radio Music Festival, which is certainly super country
Yeah.
and more poppy country. But again, I think Rascal Flatts is headline. That'll be good. But I do love all that music. I'll tell you another person who even maybe definitely shocked me more than the Foo Fighters was in probably 2011
Yeah.
at Bayou Country Superfest in Baton Rouge. Keith Urban, talk
Yeah.
about what brings me back to what drives my
Yeah.
music to talk about shredding a guitar.
Yeah.
That guy can shred serious.
Yeah. They call one of my favorite artists is John Hyatt, and he played at Jazz Fest a couple of years ago, and the Americana, is what they call this rock and roll part country. There is just some beauty about it is just really
It's great storytelling. It's great music and melody and good lyrics. And yeah, and it rocks, which is a lot of fun.
No doubt.
Yeah. So, what if the Stones tour again, is there any song that if you had the magic wish button, you'd want to hear live?
I have this Stones Petty playlist, and
Yeah.
it's only Stones and Petty, and there's a few Beatles, and like there's an Eric Clapton and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can just run through this. See, see, I've heard that. I've heard that. Sweet Virginia is amazing live.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen the song Shine a Light by the Stones live. That would be a cool one. 100 Years Ago would be a cool one that's off of their Goat's Head Soup album, which is like their acid days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so heard I would like to hear that one. Um, Goodness gracious, like I've heard that one. See, like all these
That's
songs that
awesome.
I see, I'm like, yeah, I've seen them. And like those songs I mentioned are great. Faraway Eyes, I don't know that I've heard that live. That would be super cool. That's super twangy country song. I would say that. They don't
Okay.
really play Brown Sugar anymore. That
Yeah.
would be a good one to hear. Like Slave is another one off of my favorite album, Tattoo You.
Yeah.
Tops one, I would say. So yeah, there are a few actually.
Okay.
Now I look through it.
Good. Good. So, is there anything I should have asked you, Davis, that I haven't?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I guess who would be my, I guess who would be my other favorites, which I already told you.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney and
Who, yeah, who did you miss getting a chance to see that I never took time
question.
to see Tom Petty. And what really hit me is 30 years ago, Linda and I had tickets to go see Jimmy Buffett, and she was pregnant, and so we didn't go. And then we had the kid was a baby and things were going and we kept
Hmm.
going, we should go. And we never did because you always knew there'd be another summer.
Ah,
And then all of a sudden now when he died, I felt this all our summers have come to an end. And I really felt mad at myself that, damn it, I should have done that. And so I remember that now when I'm looking, going, okay, yeah, I'm going to go see them because I don't want to miss that. So how about you? Couple that you can think of?
so none that I'll say the one show that I regret probably most not going to, I
Yeah.
chose to take a trip to California for the
Hmm.
first time over going to see Tom Petty in Dallas.
Yeah.
And that was his, I think, second to last show. I,
Wow.
I could have seen him one more time and it failed on that one. There's not, most of the time, if they're good enough, music is a priority. So most of the time, if I really want to see someone and I have an opportunity to, come hell or high water, I'll go
Good
to
for
it.
you, Davis. Good for you. Yeah.
However, there are certainly bands that, due to my age, I hate that I could that would be the better way to phrase the question from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
perspective. Who do I wish I could have seen that I just didn't have the opportunity at all
Yeah.
to, like Led Zeppelin,
Yeah.
Prince. I would have loved to seen the Beatles.
Sure.
But Paul McCartney is excellent. I
Yeah.
would say was a good one. Outside of that, I don't know. I need to look for that list I made of bands like to see.
Yeah.
Bands I've seen. I don't know. I don't have that, but yeah. So I've seen any person. Yeah, there's not many that I can say that I've regretted. I don't know
I
that.
love that. I love it.
Try to live without regrets.
There you go.
Maybe.
That is awesome.
Uh,
And go ahead.
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I would like you to enlighten me on a little bit of your Bruce Springsteen
Yeah.
endeavors and how many times you've seen him, and I guess short answers to some of the same questions that you asked me.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things that, the first time I heard Bruce being brought up, really was when Lisa Mesh, who was one of my wife's best friends, when Lynn and I just started dating, Lisa had gone to school in the East Coast, and she came back talking about this guy named Bruce Springsteen, and I'd never heard of him. I
And you're from Lake
vaguely,
Charles.
yeah, from Lake Charles,
This is,
Louisiana.
this is when you were living. That's another
Yeah,
thing we forgot
yeah,
to mention. We
yeah,
also are both from Louisiana, so that was a
yes. And I do vaguely remember being at a barber shop in Moss Bluff, Louisiana, which is where I went to high school. And I was at a barber shop and they had either the Time or Newsweek Springsteen cover, the out cover, the magazine. And I remember going, who's this guy? The greatest rock and roll? Have they never heard of Elton John? Have they? Because I was a top 40 guy.
yeah.
And then when The River came out and Hungry Heart, we got it. And then, like everyone in America, I bought Born in the USA and bought Tunnel of Love, bought the box set. And then 89, we had a kid. And then you're just doing all that and drifted away. I also discovered local music. We were living in Dallas and Deep Ellum was happening. So Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, Sarah Hickman, Brave Combo, other bands that we would go see. And it was really in 2001, after 9/11, they had a fundraiser where the E Street Band, Bruce, did My City of Ruins. And I went, oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about Bruce Springsteen. I like that guy. And then
Yeah.
in 2002, I went to my first show, Davis, and that was it. I joke about it that there's two kinds of people: the people that go to their first Bruce show and go, oh, that was long. And then the other people that go, oh my God, when can I do this again? And I became that. And
Yeah.
so I started going, and then I grew up in Lake Charles, small town, and it never clicked to me that you could drive to a different city to
Yeah.
go to a concert, right? Oh, if he isn't coming to Dallas, right? And once that happened, so I'm hit 20. I've done 20 shows.
Wow.
And since 2002, and you and I bonded over football and basketball. And I feel like I feel like the football team that missed an extra point and you chase that the rest of the game. The announcers, oh, if they'd made that point now,
Yeah.
they'd only be a field goal down. Or, oh, they wouldn't have had the touchdown would tie it and the extra
Right.
point would win it. And I keep chasing. I can't get enough shows. Yeah, that was it.
That's a
Yeah,
great feeling.
it is
That's
a
a
great feeling.
Bruce, how long do you think he'll tour?
So he has said that as long as they can do it health wise, they'll tour. Now, this last tour, he was at 2 hours and 50 minutes to 3 hours. And I could see the band getting down to 2 hours. Jason Isbell was hour and 45, maybe 2 hours at the most. On most bands, it's a 90-minute set. So
Yeah.
I could
Not
see
the
them
greats,
doing
though.
that. Huh?
Not the greats. The greats,
Yeah.
every great that I've ever watched, there's never been a great that I've watched that has been like 90 minutes that I can
Yeah.
think of.
Yeah. So so I think he'll want to play. I was lucky enough to go see him my second show. He was here at Grand Prairie at the little theater there, and it was just him, PR. He had a piano and a keyboard and a couple guitars, him by himself. And that was pretty special. That was the Devils and Dust tour.
Wow.
So I would love for him to do that again, to just do solo. I didn't get to see, Jason did not come to Texas or anywhere close with his acoustic tour. And so I would have loved that. As much as I love the 400 unit, it would be cool to see that. I don't know. He says he's not going to stop.
And they're in good health,
Yes,
right?
it is. It is. They all seem to be in pretty good health. And they have made the change where they were doing back to back, like the NBA, right? And then they started having a day between concerts. And now then there's 3 days between shows that
Mm.
they can rest. But that's smart.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
scary.
He's in his 70s, and it just doing a 3-hour show is just crazy.
It's crazy. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, my son, who's 33, says, I wish I was in good shape as Bruce was. I
Yeah.
said, you and me both, Butter. You and me both.
Same for Mick Jagger. Gosh,
Oh, yeah. I just like, how can you? That's a
85, I
crazy.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just wild. Yeah,
It's insane. It is
I
truly
know.
insane.
Yes. All right. Before I let you go, though, I have to ask a Mary question. If you're a fan, a friend of Davis's and listening, thank you. He did you proud. Jay Armstrong is an honors English teacher that is now retired. But when he was teaching, he would give his students the lyrics to Thunder Road. And they would read it as if it was a poem, talking about the imagery and the themes Bruce explores. And then he would ask his class at the end of this school lesson, does Mary get in the car? So, Davis, that is your question. Do you think Mary gets in the car at the end of Thunder Road?
That oh Lord have mercy. You might just cut this.
That's okay. Think about it. There is no right answer.
No,
Yeah.
as far as all the dogs and all
Yeah.
that.
No,
No.
that's okay. Yeah.
As far as the song in its entirety, I like it because it symbolizes to me, for him, it's his life.
Yeah.
Clearly, right? He is asking Mary to get in the car with him to go ultimately be a rock star and hang
Yeah.
out with the dingier crowd.
Yeah.
To me, I can relate to that. He's taking risks. He's going a different route, going against the grain, and it ended up working out for him. And that's certainly a way that I feel we should all live. I'd have regret,
Nice.
whether it be music or your career or a girl or whatever. So I hope Mary gets in the car. I don't know. I would have to probably read it a little bit more in detail to get a better idea of what kind of girl Mary was. But I imagine if she was hanging out with Bruce and both Bruce having his influence on her and then the kind of girl that she was to be hanging out with Bruce, I would imagine that she would be jumping into that car. And I hope she did. That's what I would have done probably.
Nice. Great. If someone wants to reach you, what's the best way?
I would say LinkedIn is
Okay.
good. Yeah,
Good.
LinkedIn's great.
All right.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before I get you out of here?
No, I really appreciate your time and it's great to chat. And
Oh, this was
uh,
so much fun.
yeah, it was
I,
great.
I just
Thank you.
love doing that. Very nice. All
Yeah.
right, listeners, if you are a LinkedIn person, check out my friend. I will include his link in the podcast. For now, I want everyone to be safe, everyone to be kind, and let's talk to you soon. Goodbye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Set Listing Bruce. I hope you enjoyed it, and I also hope you check out other episodes of the podcast. I'm going to go through some housekeeping items here on how to contact me and some of my other projects, so please hang around. I'm still on Twitter, aka X, at Jesse Jackson DFW. The show is also on Twitter at Set Lusting Bruce. I and the show have a Facebook page. Please go there and like us. I'm part of a few other podcasts. On Perfectly Good Podcast, me and my co-host Sylvan are talking about every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order. Set Lusting Bruce and Perfectly Good Podcast are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, where we have hundreds of shows dedicated to music. Please check them out. My good friend Charles and I continue to talk all things Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere. Lou, Karen, and I talk about pulp culture topics on the JKL Media Podcast. I would love to hear your feedback. Please send me an email to setlustingbruce@gmail.com. You can leave a voicemail, 469-249-2442. Go to iTunes to rate and review any of the podcasts I'm on, and we will read them on the show. Please tell me what you like, tell me what you dislike. Hook me up with someone you think would be a great guest.
Getting to talk to people about their experiences, whether it be music or other creative endeavors, is my passion. And I hope these conversations bring you a little joy, a little peace, and a whole lot of love. Keep hope alive.
There's a joke here somewhere, it's on me. Shake this world off my shoulders. Come on, baby,